welcome to another edition of the WesterosCraft Blockscast. My name is Pizza to Cup, project manager, owner of the Minecraft server WesterosCraft. I have with me Whitefire, who is the head of the Riverrun project that we are
Hello.
going to be talking about today. I also have Lil. I'm just going to call you Lil, because
Okay.
Liliana also helped assist in the planning and making of Riverrun. As you can see, we're full swing in the middle of the group build. We've got about, 70 people on right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can see on my screen, I actually pulled up the user list. It's always nice to have so many people online, and the server is actually running pretty smoothly, which is surprising. White, I wanted to ask, just kind of in the planning of Riverrun, it's kind of a unique build in different ways. Just kind of in the context of the story of Game of Thrones. Did that kind of present any challenges? The overall shape of it,
Yeah.
in actually building in Minecraft.
Yeah. The one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this build and to lead this up, aside from personal reasons, I'm really drawn and attracted to this kind of landscape. But there's so many things that we get from a lot of different chapters. I think in 3 of the books at least that describe Riverrun in different ways. And the main thing is that it's triangular shaped. So that poses a lot of challenges because we build on a grid. So we're going to have angles no matter which way you look at it, and we have to try to build around that. So to kind of work with that, we want to make sure we try to using circular towers where we can. And then we tried to make the walls of the castle an equilateral triangle, because that allows us for the most area inside the castle, and actually fits really well on the triangular area on the maps that George Martin has in his books, and that we have from other resources too. So yeah, that ended up working. It looks like it's working out pretty well for us so far.
Yeah, I noticed the triangle shape kind of really smoothly just fit on there, even without modifying the landscape.
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges we got was we do really well with wall designs. We kind of spruce them up a little bit from normal castles because it's Minecraft. We have kind of a limited type of blocks, so we wanted to try to use what we can. And it works really well when you've got straight walls that fit on the grid. But when you take a design that looks great on a straight angle and then you turn it a little bit pixelated, it doesn't always work as well. And so that's one of the challenges we had with actually getting a design that worked well for a wall.
Lil, can you kind of describe the process? What exactly is the part of Riverrun you kind of had to help in planning and building?
Mainly I was interested in the keep. I wanted it to, I don't know, it's like when you think of Riverrun, you just think of like, I don't know how to describe it. I wanted it to be kind of pretty and like, I don't know, it just seems like a kind of a slow moving place, and you just wanted to kind of depict that kind of feel. So I wanted to think about how to get that look and also get it in the shape of a triangle. So it was kind of a bit of a challenge.
We had a layout before this that was pretty um, sterile. It had all the aspects from the books that were mentioned, but it didn't have a lot of character to it. So one of the things Liana added with her model and her design that built on that design was moving the keep over a little bit, so we got more room in the center, and then adding some of the buildings, moving things around just a little bit to just give it a little more. Little more
Flair.
yeah, So, like, for instance, we have in the old model, we had an upper and a lower bailey. It wasn't as defined. It was kind of a gradual slope, and there was only like a block or two difference between the two. Like, you just step down and you're on the lower bailey from the upper. And it was kind of a gradient from the west side, where the main gate starts, all the way down to the east where the rivers meet. Um, on her model, that kind of emphasized this even more, just kind of lifted up the center. So there's this kind of this man-made wall that's going to be around the keep area, to really strongly define that. And that also allowed us to use some other interesting things that wouldn't have worked otherwise, like our newer water gate that works on kind of a a water stair that works on a multiple level sort of design. So so before we had a decent design, and it really worked with everything in the Canon, but it just needed something extra, and that's what she brought.
Right, for sure. And I'm actually flying around the model right now. It's kind of hovering above the whole landscape. It looks fantastic. We've been making models for group builds, for a while now. But just pretty lately, the past couple builds, we've gotten super detailed with the models, and I think it just helps so much to kind of defining what the end product is going to look like, even as far as a representation of a fish statue, maybe. And it's all up for debate where everything's gonna go and kind of what exactly it's gonna look like. But overall, it turns out looking pretty good. I think the palette looks fabulous. I think one of the challenges maybe with Riverrun y'all might have is the Riverlands where Riverrun is located is like a very pretty country. I think they have pretty castles, but it's still got to kind of embody that they live off the river. So it kind of gives, I don't know, the kind of river aesthetic. I don't know. You kind of have to work with that a little bit because it's so easy to just put vines everywhere and make it look pretty. But you got to do more than that with the water.
Well, we want to make sure. Part of the books talks about the water tower, which is it's like a wheelhouse, but it's actually fit in one of the corner towers of the castle. So with this model, we were able to get that river instead of just kind of going through the side of it. We put it right through the middle, and then it meets up with the stream that comes through the Godswood, which is a perfect place to have just a kind of a trickling little stream running off from the Red Fork River, and then meeting together there and getting into the tiny harbor that they have for skiffs and other smaller boats to come through. So we really embody that. Like Will said, the prettiness of the area and of this castle is something that has been important from the start, and we wanted to make sure we emphasize that.
Right, it's a very different kind of pretty. Now, it doesn't. Riverrun isn't, superbly described in the books. In the show, they showed it very briefly. How much of this model and overall the end result of Riverrun is made up from the books, and how much is it just kind of from imagination?
I would say the books were the firm beginnings for it. That was where the basis of it started. So what we did was went through all the resources we have, like Westeros.org, and Song of Ice and Fire.com, I think it is, and just found all the quotes about the place that were ever said in there. Also did some PDF searches for different keywords that we might be looking for. So we went through all that and found the references that were important, such as some of the characters like Catelyn, who follows a certain path as she enters Riverrun in book 1, and then in book 2 there's a conversation with someone else that she has that we had to kind of follow that path to make sure that it kind of matches up. So if you are reading the books, you technically could just walk through our builds and just follow along with what they're doing. And personally, I think that's really important. We want to try to match things up with what George Martin has been creating, and I think that's part of the fun too.
Taking the same path as the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely important. Kind of, I mean, the book series is so large in scope. I think it's really easy to kind of get lost in it. But I think everyone on the server and part of this project are pretty grounded in the fact that we're trying to recreate this world on our own terms, but also trying to stay really faithful to the book.
Yeah, I guess how I look at it is we start with whatever's in the book as kind of takes precedence, and then from there we build on with our knowledge of um, what's happened in the medieval era, what we know from our time. We have some leeway for some things because it's not a one-to-one relationship between the two, but we take that into consideration. Then we also, if there's anything from the show that it adds that won't detract from the books, which we can use that from time to time. But yeah, like you asked before about how much the show might impact too. That's it can help too. Like places like the Red Keep, I know we had some aspects of the show involved with that too.
Right. I think the show, just the art direction on the show is so good that it it helps us a lot. I think we can get a lot of styles for the different regions and the castles from the show. Speaking of which, the palette for Riverrun right now is, a bunch of sandstone. Why this bright colored sandstone?
Well, it was just it said that it was a sandstone castle in the book, and then we had to work hard to make sure to set it apart from like places in Dorne or the Westerlands that tends to use more sandstone. We wanted to make sure that you knew you were in the Riverlands even though it was sandstone.
And like we're talking before about trying to make it a little bit more with Minecraft, we have to kind of be aware of the tools we're using. We have to try to make it look a little more than what you would see in an actual photo. A lot of the designs for this castle came from Bodiam Castle. It's I believe it's in Wales. It's situated on a moat, and it looks great, and it's a sandstone castle. So that was kind of the basis for a lot of the towers and a little bit of the wall structure. But then if you just look at a flat wall with just sandstone, even if it isn't the bright yellow sandstone that they would have in Dorne, it still looks, you still need to spice it up a little bit. So our texture pack team got together and we worked on a bunch of different hues of sandstones that we could use since we had the metadata values available. In other words, we had the extra blocks that we could put a texture on. So we got those together. We got a nice range of colors, and then we chose which ones that would work well, that weren't too close to each other, but also weren't too much in contrast. And so those are the ones that ended up being used. It was a long process to figure out what was just right, but after we got some good designs down, yeah, it's that kind of ended up developing to what we have here, which turned out really well, I think.
Right. In the past few months, our texture pack has grown pretty diverse, I think, in terms of
Yeah.
blocks. And it's we're kind of, putting a crackdown on that, slowing it down a bit just cuz we can't constantly update our builds, but I think we have a really diverse set of building blocks, and I don't know. I think it sets us apart from, almost any other Minecraft build out there. So we're placing a bunch of gold blocks, and I mean, they're obviously, Riverrun isn't lined with gold blocks everywhere. Can you kind of explain why um, we're putting gold blocks there and kind of what we're going to do with them?
Well, that's usually the kind of thing that's used for placeholders. Like there's going to be a mix of blocks there. to kind of make it look aged and stuff. So, like, it's just kind of a placeholder to get it down, and then we'll go back and put the actual blocks that it's going to be, which will be, if you look like at the towers at the bottom, you can see what it's going to end up looking like. It's got, like, I don't know, is it like three different blocks kind of mixed together, which gives it kind of an aged look, and also with the moss blocks in there too. Obviously, being next to a river, it'll probably grow some stuff.
Yeah, you can see on my screen right now, I got the gold blocks, and you can kind of look over at the tower, and here you'll see what it kind of turns into. Really mossy, just a nice mixture of cobble and stone blocks. With, of course, it's along the river. It'll have moss growing up along it. Just gives it that little extra pop of detail. So for each group build we do an extensive and a lot of pre-planning before we even start the build. Here's kind of an example of a test keep we did. This is probably going to be sort of the shape of what the actual Riverrun keep is going to look like. It's hovering above the landscape now. Who actually made this keep?
Myself, and Monster Mel did some on it as well.
Mm-hmm. So what do you kind of have to keep in mind when you're building something so large as this keep? As far as, maybe interiors, I could see a bunch of interiors are mapped out a little bit.
It was mostly because we're working with a triangle, that it was mostly, putting some lines down, making sure that we could get sensible rooms within, what we were trying to accomplish on the exterior. So that was mainly why we did that.
Right, and I think again, another part of what WesterosCraft does so well is the interiors of places. They actually look livable. Like, say, if, little NPCs were running around here, it looks like they would actually have enough room in this little space to actually live their little lives. Yeah, the keep is definitely looking fantastic from the inside. I can't wait to see it, put into practice on the actual build. We also have the water gate over here, which I think is probably one of the best looking gates we've built in the game. I love the trout and the fish symbols on the side.
This is such a good example of like how teamwork is important, and how just one person can't come up with all of this. It definitely takes a lot of people with a lot of different ideas. So it started off with just this chunk of block that was just put down and using world edit, and said, hey, this is the start, do something with it. And so Hoosfoos, one of our members, started doing a lot of work with it and coming up with some extra designs, adding a let's see if I can get to where you're at here, adding a breakwater. This thing that you're standing on right here. Mm-hmm. So this is going to actually, the water is going to be coming from this direction where I'm standing here. And then as it hits this, it'll slow down. The water will go this way, but it slows things down, gives a nice little calm area for ships to kind of guide themselves in through the gate. So it's such a great little idea, and he had that knowledge and was able to share that and kind of contribute, and it's really, really helpful. Another member who's worked on the keep that Will talked about, Monster Mill, she came up with this triangular sort of chevron sort of design, and that one looked so good. It was a thing that just kind of stuck in our heads as something that would work for the whole design of the castle. We made sure that the walls had that same sort of structure. The other towers use that same sort of structure, just to make everything kind of work together. We had to adjust the palette a little bit. We had to move some things around. We actually had about 6 or 7 of these water towers sitting around in the test area before we got to this. And we have different designs on the front and back here. But what we ended up keeping here was something that uses these blocks in a balanced manner, so we don't have too much of the dark or light stone or too much of the red. So we kind of emphasize the fish, which is the Tully's house animal,
Their
house
sigil.
sigil. Yes, and the Tullys are the ones that are lords of Riverrun. So so that was where those parts come from. And then just the other day, one of our newer members, Carcina Genius, came up with this fish design. So we moved it over, and we didn't know what we were going to do with it. We didn't know if we were going to use it for a statue, but we put it in the test area. And then another member, without even knowing that they were there, said, "Hey, you know what would be cool here? Is if we had a couple of fish with on the sides." And that grew, like put things together, and here's what we got. That grew into making these. We're gonna try to make these into fountains, so water will be pouring out of the mouths. See if that works. But yeah, there's a lot of different parts that kind of came together on this one piece, and right now we just put it in, and this is what it looks like in the wall.
Yeah, it looks fabulous. I mean, one of the best parts about A Song of Ice and Fire is, it's rooted and based off reality, but it's still got that kind of fantastical, mystical, just imaginative.
Yeah.
I don't know the word to it, but so you can, do something like put giant fish statues, with water coming out of their mouths, and thankfully in Minecraft you can do that. Another thing that I just think really really stood out to me, what you just said, is the breakwater here is, there's no actual moving water in Minecraft. I mean, the stream is fake. It doesn't work. It just sits there. But having that knowledge that the stream would be coming from this direction, so we would have to make a breakwater a little bit longer on the left side of the water gate rather than on the other side. Just kind of imagining that the water is real and moving, and what the Tullys would have had to build to kind of correct that problem is just mind blowing to me. That just the creativeness of the people on this server.
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned was that that we can do a little more fantastical sort of things than real life sort of things. I think that's kind of what Martin was thinking when he wrote his books too. It's one of the reasons he got out of doing TV series, is because he had all these budgetary limitations, so it limited his creative style. So he decided to write his own books, his own novels, and then later this longer series it turned into. And because he had his unlimited budget in his head, so so it allows him to do fantastical things like a 700-foot tall or 700 meter tall ice wall and things like that. So yeah, I think it really kind of reflects the heart of the story too.
Right, and I just want to point out, like, while we were talking up there at the test of the water gate, it was actually placed in the gate, in the actual part of the Riverrun build, and it it's a little bit choppy, but that's what happens when we do that. But it looks awesome.
Yeah, we're worried that it was going to be a little massive, so we wanted to try to bring the height down and bring the size down. The gate is actually operable. We use a mod called Portcullis, and you can flip a lever and you can make a fence block move up and down as long as it's had under these certain conditions. So one of the reasons we have it so tall is to make room for the portcullis to actually retract up inside of it. So yeah, that's kind of where we came from. But we did have to run into that thing where we didn't want to make it too tall. So
right.
That also kind of affected some of our other decisions for the harbors.
All right, so we're gonna kind of close up this Blockscast so we can get back to building Riverrun. I'd like to thank Whitefire both for planning Riverrun and taking time out of the build to answer some questions. Same with Lil. Thanks for being here. The build's looking great. I mean, you guys are doing a great job.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you kind of giving us the interview. I know this is a really special project, and I'm really excited about seeing it getting up.
Hmm. And I can't wait to see it done. And once it's done, stay tuned to this YouTube channel. You can press the subscribe button. That'd be cool. I'll have a kind of tour video of the entire Riverrun build. It'll be nice and pretty, have some nice music. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. See ya.
So yeah.
See ya.